Wow. I think I have finally figured out, oh, excuse me. I think I finally figured out how to go stream without going through 20 hoops. We are officially live streaming it up. All right. So now that the stream is live, I'm going to, okay, we got this going. Great. I'm going to share the stream just in case someone is looking to watch. So all right, we're gonna go to YouTube on my other computer here. I'm gonna look up Str8 Legendary. And let's see if we can get it going live right now. We are live right now. Legendary. Boom. All right. I apologize in advance because I am going to be doing a little bit of sniffling today, probably for a couple of reasons. So just like with any job or any project, real life gets in the way, or life gets in the way. Real life. This is real life too, writing. And with NaNoWriMo, you already have it. The fact that it's in Thanksgiving, which I'm already thinking about, what's going to happen to the end of the month when I have a bunch of family here. They're really cool, so I think they'll let me still get at least a little bit of writing in. They'll be okay with me getting a little writing. Maybe some of them will join me on the stream. But kind of thinking about that with, make sure I get in some writing every day on this project. But also definitely thinking about, just other, kind of real life things that get in the way. I'm gonna make this a little bit bigger so that you guys aren't straining to see it. Come on, you can get bigger. Get bigger. There we go. All right. So I'm probably going to be sniffling a little bit last night after, well, for one thing, I have allergies, so those are acting up on me today, so I'm doing a little bit of sniffling there. But last night after I ended my live stream, I got some really bad news about a close friend of mine who passed away suddenly. So last night after I finished writing and was supposed to be getting some work done, I ended up, having, just having some time to connect with some friends. He was a college classmate of mine, and so all of us from those couple of years around the time that he was there, we felt it. So, and he was a very close friend of mine. Actually, he was a groomsman in my wedding. So, so it's been, over the last 24 hours, there's been, a lot of tears. And so it's been tough. And, that was the second person this week, in this past week, second friend in this past week who passed away. So, these, I don't want to, dive, too much into all of that. But it's just one of those things where, yeah, I mean, for, when you are living in this life, things happen, and, you gotta deal with those and push on. When you're a writer, my wife makes fun of me because I like to act like writers are this heightened, sense of being, or people who write, stories and stuff, or some type of, we're heightened emotionally. But she teases me because I kind of talk about how when you're a writer, part of your job is kind of diving into the depths of feeling and emotion, and you know, character arcs deal with people, you know, changing in some fundamental and core way. Like that's, you know, life-changing events, telling stories. If your story doesn't center around some type of life-changing event with your main character or your main characters, then are you really writing a story, right? Story comes from, you know, conflict and resolution, and it comes from, you know, a place of feeling, for lack of a better expression right now. So that's what we deal with when we're writing stories. We're trying to find that emotional core, that that pivot point where someone has a life changing event happen to them, or some type of life changing, you know, circumstance, and it changes the way they think or the way they live or the choices they make. And so when we're writing about those things, we tend to, you know, we get in those feelings, we get in our feelings, you know, to quote one Drake, what's his last name? I don't know. But so when those things begin to happen to us in real life, like it does, it hits hard, you know, because now these are feelings that we're, you know, trying to create and find. These are feelings that have found us, you know. So we, you know, so yeah, so it hit a little hard, and I was supposed to stream a few hours ago, but it was a trying day, and for a couple of reasons. That, you know, that was one, with, you know, news about my friend, a few other situations, and literally I just kind of I needed to lay down. You know, I needed to take a nap. It's a Sunday afternoon, and fortunately, we didn't have anything planned as a family too much, so we were just kind of able to relax. And I took a little bit of a nap, and I had trouble getting out of bed a little bit because, you know, I just, you know, I didn't really want to face things. It was, you know, it was just tough. So, but you know, I'm dedicated to this. The one thing about, you know, my one friend who passed away just a couple of days ago, he was also a writer. You know, he was a writer in a different respect. He worked in advertising, and you've actually seen some of his commercials on TV. I'm not going to get into everything and what they were, but you've definitely seen them. If you're a sports fan, you've definitely seen commercials that he's done. And you've heard commercials that he's written on your radio, from major big companies. So he was a writer, and he did some amazing things. So, you know, in honor of that, I'm gonna keep writing, you know, and we're gonna jump more into this Captain Infinity thing. It's gonna be these first few streams have just been an hour long each, for time purposes. You know, just got a lot of things that I'm working on, and of course, with this, you know, with this circumstance, it's already 8 o'clock at night, so this is going to be about an hour long. I'm sharing a stream right now. Live writing session is on NaNoWriMo day 3. I'm starting to figure out how to do this a little bit better now. So yeah, we're gonna chug away, and we're gonna jump in and start writing. When we left off yesterday, we had begun to introduce the first what not what I like to call, but what I'm calling kind of like an entry point, where we're doing. So if you've been following along, this is Captain Infinity, the rise, fall, rebirth, and future demise of Super Earth 1. For those who don't know, the way I kind of have it set up in my mind and how I kind of have a little bit of an outline is that it's going to be in 4 parts. You're going to follow. This will be part 1, the fall will be part 2, the rebirth will be part 3, and the future demise will be part 4. What Super Earth 1 is exactly hasn't been revealed yet, but we're kind of in a prologue right now. So the prologue is following a character named Cynthia, who's going to be a central part of the story moving forward. A character named Cynthia, she's in the classroom, and you can go back and read through the whole thing. You know, where I'm actually probably going to begin posting it as I'm writing it. So if you want to read along, you can, and go back and forth with everything that's happening with the story. But Cynthia, we meet her. She's in the 9th grade, and she is in a class called Future History, because in this world, time travel has been created, and or not, it hasn't been created. Sorry, there have been beings born, which hasn't quite been revealed yet. It has been revealed. Sorry, who can travel through time. And what they've done is these beings and it's just a few people on Earth. Just not, it's not like a whole group or race. It's a couple of people. It's people with powers, and they've traveled through time, and they've gone and they've documented the future, the same way we've documented the past. So now there are future textbooks that talk about what's happening. And if you weren't around for other streams or haven't mentioned this in a while, the main story, and I'm doing this as I'm writing, and I'm telling you like what I'm thinking, because I want you to kind of, just see one type of thought process as you're going through. And I think that's very helpful, is that this story is going to be centered around fate, versus choice, predestination versus choice. And that has a lot to do, in my mind, with time. And so, we have a certain amount of time on this planet, and what would we do with that time if we knew what was coming? If we knew that if we knew that some of the mysteries in life, what happens in the afterlife, what was going to happen to us in the future, things like that. If we knew the answers to those questions, would it really change our behavior? So that's one of the things that I'm really thinking about as I write the story. So every time I, come up with a new scene, or how to do something, or how to progress a story, that's what I'm thinking about. How does this speak to the theme that I'm going with predestination versus fate? So, predestination versus choice, and what happens to us in the choices we make. So, and a lot of other things get mixed into that, which we'll go into in later parts. But right now, we're still in the prologue. We are talking about our homegirl Cynthia, who we reveal who has the hyper ability to travel through time. And all of her classmates are asking her, like her teacher's very eager about this, and is excited that he has, a future, a time traveler in his classroom. She's not a future historian, of course. She's only 15. The future historians are older, and they've been documenting things, and they create textbooks so that people can not only learn about their past, but they can learn about their future. And all of her friends are asking, well, what happens in the future? And how do you know anything about what happens to me? So I gotta share the stream in one more place, and then we will dive into doing a little bit of writing for the next 45 minutes or so. Share it here, just in case anyone. All right, day 3 of NaNoWriMo is up and running. Check it out on YouTube. Okay. All right, and share. Okay, share it now. All right, so we're sharing in a few places. Sharing on, stay on page. So it's going. All right, so now we're sharing in a few places. Go back here, and then, yeah. Okay, so Mr. Tinneman kind of reveals that Cynthia's a time traveler. Her classmates are going in, asking questions, trying to figure out what's going on. Yes, it is. Check out the live stream on YouTube. So, all right. So, Mr. Timmerman, okay, are there aliens in the future? All her friends are asking if they know anything about the future. Hold on, I just have to answer just a couple of messages. When you're writing, sometimes it's cool to just turn off your phone. However, because of today, like I definitely have it on. Hold on. I'm live streaming right now. Okay, so, all right, okay, everyone settle down. Teacher successfully quells the students, though there's still a low, excited murmur. Let's open our textbooks and dive in, shall we? The students eagerly retrieve their textbooks and open them up. Mr. Timmerman says, let's go to chapter 33. Oh, that's the other thing. If you're joining us for the first time, you're watching this for the first time, it says NaNoWriMo, which is National Novel Writing Month, and I'm writing a graphic novel. So I'm writing the script for a graphic novel. So it's still a novel. It's a little bit different, but it's still a novel. So this is a special so now we get into it. Let's go to chapter 33. Cynthia suddenly looks up at Mr. Timmerman with a tinge of shock in her eyes. The teacher tosses a reassuring smile back at her. So just to kind of give you another thing, as I'm going through this, it's a graphic novel which has to describe things in kind of static pictures to a certain extent. However, I'm just writing it as if it was a moving film because it's just easier to describe things that way. When I begin to work with the artist, hopefully what we'll do is we'll figure out how to make these things that are moving, we'll describe them more in a static way so that we can say, this is what this panel looks like, this is what this panel looks like. So for example, Cynthia suddenly looks up at Mr. Timmerman with a tinge of shock in her eyes. You're not going to see the motion of her looking up with shock in her eyes, but what we'll do is I'll say, okay, you know, artist friend who is working on this artist partner, because, you know, it'll be we'll talk about that. You know, it'll be a client thing. Like, you know, I don't ask anyone to do work for me for free. Cynthia, even if they are a friend, and especially if they're a friend, Cynthia suddenly looks up. So what we'll do is we'll decide, you know, one panel she's looking down, one panel she's looking up, and shock on her face or something like that. So you won't see the motion. However, if this does get turned into a movie one day, you know, it'll be there. So we'll get that. Mr. Timmerman with attention checking. What I'm doing right now is I'm kind of reading back through like the last few parts of the story so that I get into a groove moving forward. Cynthia suddenly looks up at Mr. Timmerman with a tinge of shock in her eyes. The teacher tosses a reassuring smile back at her. So this is a special chapter because it speaks about the chronobomb. And it's like, ooh, what's the chronobomb? Mr. Timmerman clicks his remote and a smartboard display changes to a depiction of Earth, but with a massive explosion emanating from its surface and what looks like a continent-sized crater prominently featured. Cynthia stares straight ahead with the look of someone who has seen an army of ghosts. Most future historians agree that this is the most catastrophic disaster that the world has ever seen or will ever see. Mr. Timmerman changed the display again, this time showing the ruins of a city, perhaps New York. We'll see. Over 200 million people died. And so everybody is like, wow, that's crazy. We're going to change that number. So the idea is to really set it up for people to wonder what the heck was the chronobomb and why is it so big? 200 million people, that sounds like a lot, because it is a lot. However, the idea behind this, as you will see in this line right here, what's crazier is that people from the past, the present, and the future all perished simultaneously. The idea is that this didn't just kill people in one. This wasn't just one catastrophic disaster that happened at one place in the timeline. The chronobomb happened in several places on the timeline at the same time. So like dozens of places. So that could mean 200 million people died in just one part of the timeline. So hold on just a second. Yes. How can I help you? Come in.
Mom, what did you show me my hair?
That's very nice. Okay. Thank you.
Are you recording?
Yes, I am recording.
My bad.
Have a good night. So, okay. That was interrupted again. So good. It's all good. We got this. Keep chugging, right? Keep chugging. So where was I? I was talking about how we're going to make this even bigger. So we're going to take a number that is impossible at this point because I don't know how many people. We're going to do a little research real quick. We're going to find out how many people are on the how many people. What's the approximate population of people on the planet right now? Planet's population. All right. So the current world population as of November 2019 is 7.7 billion people. Man, that's a lot of people. So what we're going to do is we are going to okay, we're not going to look at that right now. We're going to take that number and we're going to say 10 billion people died when the chrono bomb exploded. Over 10 billion people died. That's crazy. And we're going to add a little, that might be a little obvious. Because what I was going to say was add a character who's going to say, that's more people than even exist on the earth right now, or something like that. But that's a little obvious. The idea is that when somebody hears this, over 10 billion people died, the reader or the audience is supposed to be like, wait a minute, is there even that many people on the planet? And that's where Arica just says, that's crazy. And Mr. Zimmerman says, yes, it is. What's crazier is that people from the past, the present, and the future all perished simultaneously. Mr. Timmerman clicks the remote again, and another image appears. This time we see a virtual representation of a timeline. The timeline. He presses another button, and the timeline begins to twist and fracture in numerous ways. And, sorry, this is actually about this. Go. I think we have this now. All right. Okay. Mr. Timmerman clicks the remote. Remote again, and another image appears. This time we see a virtual representation of a timeline, the timeline. He presses another button, and the timeline begins to twist and fracture in numerous ways. He presses another button. We're gonna actually. I want him to say that. I like the way that sounds. Let's say the chrono bomb. I think that's actually should be. The chrono bomb caused the timeline, caused our native timeline to twist and fracture in dozens of places. In dozens of, we'll say places. Remember, this is first draft, so at this point, we just get it down on paper. You want to just say what you want to say. So I'm doing this, what I'm doing right now is just clicking on, making everything lowercase at the beginning, because since I'm justifying center to make it look like a screenplay, blah, 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 blah. It makes the beginning of every sentence capital, but you press another button. Okay, so we're gonna take that off. Mr. Zimmerman clicks the remote again, and another image appears. This time we see a virtual representation of a timeline, the timeline. And she says, Mr. Zimmerman says, the chrono bomb caused our native timeline to twist and fracture in a dozen places. Chronobomb caused our timeline to twist and fracture in dozens of places. Mm. Mm. Name the timelines twist and fracture. Mr. Superman clicks the remote again. Another image appears. This time we see a virtual representation of a timeline. The timeline. What does it say? Timeline. I don't know. The chronobomb caused our native timeline to twist and fracture in dozens of places. Some twist and fracture in dozens of places. All right, so here we go. Dozens of places. Cynthia is, we'll hit back to Cynthia because she's the focus of this. Cynthia is now stewing in her seat. Stewing in her seat. Fire. There's fire in her eyes. No. We'll say Cynthia's anger. Cynthia's anger boils. Cynthia's horror. The horror on Cynthia's face is increasing. We'll say that it's rising. It's increasing. I don't know if I'm not going to say increasing. I want to say something more like, as something is rising. Increasing is just kind of such a colloquial. It's not really a colloquial word. Where's that Team Bandwagon logo? All right. I'll get that up on the next one. My boy Jamal, aka Team Bandwagon host and one of the co-creators of Str8 Legendary is hitting me up. So on the live stream, yes, we will get the Team Bandwagon logo going. Team Bandwagon represent. I'm gonna throw it up there. So not right now. We'll get up on the next one. All right. The horror on Cynthia's face is increasing. Horror on Cynthia's face is increasing. Mr. Timmerman is increasing. But Timmerman barrels through as he has just barrels through with his lesson. Let's have a kid. Which kid are we gonna do? Let's do Inez for now. Inez. What caused the chronobomb? This is supposed to just be lowercase. What caused the chronobomb? Caused the chronobomb? No one knows. Okay, okay, that's perfect. We're actually gonna save that because I want that to be a tipping point right there for Cynthia to boil over. It's increasing, but Timmerman just barrels through with his lesson. Let's see, twisted fractures in dozens of places. Ooh, let's have a barrels. Let's see. Is it true that some people died twice? Some people died twice. I say native timeline because it has been because several other we're actually going to take out this native thing because I think I want to say that for another. The chrono bomb caused our timeline to twist and fracture. Our timeline to twist and fracture in dozens of places. So we're going to take that out. We're going to come back to the native timeline part of it. The horror Cynthia's face is increasing. It's increasing. We're just going to take that out. I felt the pressure to have Mr. Timmerman say something because I said it was increasing. So we're just going to take that out and go straight to Roger, who says, is it true that some people died twice? Unfortunately, that is the case. That is the case. Unfortunately, that is the case. That is the case. In one, that was a case. If you look at if you read down to the fourth paragraph, you'll see a 100-year span in which 7 timeline fractures occurred. Mr. Timmerman clicks another button and the board changes to show that specific 100-year span, to show the timeline of a 100-year span between 2254 and 2354. Between the years of 2254 and 2354. Yes, man. There are markers indicating fractures all. Clicks another button and the board changes to show the timeline of a 100-year span between the years of 2254 and 2354. There are markers indicating fractures. There are markers indicating fractures throughout. Again, I'm not, if I was polishing this, I would go and kind of rework that wording a little bit, but right now, again, I'm just getting it on paper. And it says what I'm trying to say. When you're writing something and you're writing it for the first time, you're doing that first draft, or even sometimes into your second draft, the key is just to describe what you're trying to write, even if the words aren't polished or they don't 100% sound smooth. Just get it down on paper and say what you're trying to say. You can go back later and smooth it over, which means that you're mostly going to be writing things in as basic a terms as possible. I don't really want to say there are markers indicating fractures all throughout. I want to find a little bit more of an artistic way to say it, and I also want to find a little bit smoother way to say it. But if at this point, if I start just like stopping and trying to figure out how I want to say this and erasing and retyping and erasing and retyping, I'm going to kind of lose my train of thought as I'm going through. So what I want to do here is I just want to say what I want to say what I've written. I want to I want to say what I'm trying to say what I'm trying to say, and then we'll keep going, and of course we'll come back when it's time to come back. So Mr. Timmerman clicks another button and the board changes to show the timeline of a 100-year span between the years of 2254 and 2354. There are markers, and even these years might change. Well, they will change because they'll be this more meaningful. I haven't thought about exactly what happens likewise. Yeah, timeline fractures. And then this is going to be a placeholder. Mr. Timmerman, a woman named, let's see, is it true that some people died twice? A woman, now here's something. Now this woman who we're going to say she was someone who was affected, she was, as far as future historians are concerned, or as far as future historians have determined, the woman I'm about to introduce here died more than any other person who was affected by a chronobomb. So I'm not sure, maybe like 3 or 4 times. Most people, if they were affected, they at the most, a lot of people died twice, but mostly since it was just the span was so wide, there were chronobombs going off like there was the chronobomb affected time periods that were, you know, centuries apart. But you know, we felt the reverberations of them throughout the timeline. Centuries apart, most people, you know, died once in the time that they were alive. But this one spot on the timeline, there were several fractures just dotted all over the place in this 100-year span. And in this 100-year span, this woman was born. I'm considering having her. She lived about 100 years. You know, she's about 100 years old when she died, and she, you know, was the only person that was both in the times and the places where the chronobombs went off. Where the chronobombs went off, and she just happened to be in the place where chronobombs went off, and at the times, and it was within her lifespan, and she got caught in the chronobomb several of those times, or might be all seven. But the idea is that this woman is going to be significant to the story. So what I would do here is I would begin to look for a name. Like those kids, I kind of just come up with random names, and when I'll go back, and I might change them, but this woman's name is going to be significant because she's going to be mentioned throughout the rest of the story. So what I would do here is I would go to some naming dictionaries, and I would try to find a name that represents what she's going to be to the story. The reason I'm not going to do it right here, right now, is one, I have only about 20 minutes left in this writing stream because I will have to end this one at an hour. There will be longer writing streams in the future, and ones where I ramble a little bit less, and of course ones where I ramble a little bit more. But yeah, so I'm going to put a placeholder name, but I'm going to highlight it because yeah, I want to come back and really, you know, play with the significance of her name. So for now, we'll just say a woman named, let's say uh, we'll say, let's say Pilar. Sometimes, every once in a while, placeholder name will be the right name. So what I'm right now is actually I'm looking up to make sure that I'm spelling the name Pilar correctly. So the name Pilar is a girl's name of Spanish origin, meaning pillar. The name originated in the legend of the... See, might be one of those situations. So the name Pilar means pillar. The name originated in the legend of the miracle of the Virgin Mary's appearance over a marble pillar. It also is an allusion to her as a pillar of the church. Pilar is remembered as a valiant heroine of Hemingway's From Whom the Bell Tolls. Oh, Hemingway's novel, not For Whom the Bell Tolls in Game of Thrones, which I think I was just called The Bells. Anyway, so this is one of those situations. I kind of like just thought of this name, not out of the blue. I kind of brainstormed a few names. What I usually do, like how I brainstorm names is I will I'll look at the keyboard and I'll kind of like look at the different letters and just kind of see what comes to mind. Especially when I'm doing a placeholder name like now. So I looked at P and I was like, Pilar, that's cool. I think I've known two people named Pilar. I hope I'm saying it right. Anyway, so that was a placeholder name. But as I looked up the meaning of it, it kind of works perfectly with what's going on here. Pilar, her name means pillar. It means, you know, like a pillar. It's a pillar of the church, or just pillar. And as we know, pillars are something that hold things that's our foundations. if a woman named Pilar died more, 7 times because of the chrono bomb, does that not just like scream significance there? Like she was a pillar, like her significance of her dying was part of what rocked the timeline so bad. And yes, we will get to the repercussions and of the chrono bomb in even more ways, but we're gonna kind of trickle it out. And I'm bouncing around here in my thoughts kind of on purpose because when we're writing, we have to stay focused. We have to simultaneously stay focused, but also allow our mind to wander at the same time. So the wandering helps the focus for me specifically. So wandered out, I found Pilar. Now I'm very excited because Pilar can really be a part of, is really going to be a great name that has some great significance in this. That's a great place to kind of have a little bit of a teaching moment here. One of the things that helps motivate me to keep writing, because writing is hard. We know it's hard. One of the things and it takes a lot of brain power, and it's a lot of ups and downs, and it's mood swings, etc. But one of the things that helps me is research. Whenever I get stuck, whenever I'm really having trouble knowing where I want to go, research is one of the things. I have several techniques for pushing through writer's block, but research really is one of the ways that helps me to really come up with ideas and keep going. Sorry, I'm answering a text now. So it's it's one of the ways that where if I'm having trouble coming up with something, I'll say, okay, let me do a little bit of research. Hey Josh, it's the same Captain Infinity. It's the same Captain Infinity from that you're familiar with, that was created at the church. However, the saga has expanded to a great deal. So yes, it is that Captain Infinity. The saga has expanded to a little bit more. It's a little bit old. It's now skewed a little bit older, and the saga, like I said, it's expanded, and I'm polishing up. So yeah. So yes, there is another Captain Infinity coming, and it's called The Rise, Fall, Rebirth, and Future Demise of Super Earth 1. So next time I see you, we'll we'll talk about it, Josh. Research is a way. So I'll look into something, I'll research something, and when I find other stories inspire my stories. Other stories get me excited about writing, and not only that, but when I find something that I feel like fits right into my story, it just makes me more motivated and excited to go further. So in other words, you have to take time to celebrate those little victories, even if it's just a little like, yes, like, man, I found something that's perfect, which, like I said, was a perfect example. I was looking for a name of a woman to as a placeholder, and then knowing that this woman's name was going to be significant. Not only did I find what I feel like is the perfect name, but it has a perfect significance, and now it even helps to shape her meaning, her meaning. So Pilar was so this character of Pilar. Like I said, she was going to be significant. But can I be honest with you? About 10 minutes ago, when I was like, she's going to be significant, so I need to figure out exactly how, a great name for her. I was not 100% sure how I was going to make her significant. I mean, it had some ideas kind of bouncing around that, of course, she was someone special. She was someone meaningful. She was related somehow to a character moving forward. She maybe was a time jumper herself. but I was not 100% sure how I was gonna, you know, have her significance go forward. Now, when I found the name Pilar, and then I looked up what Pilar means, which is pillar, now it really has helped me to formulate and solidify how she's going to be significant and how other characters are going to talk about her, how she's written about in this book, both the truth of her and what the stories people tell about her. Because as you can see, these kids, you know, they really just like, is it true that some people died twice? They're into the sensationalism of it, you know, the idea that someone could die several times in the timeline, right? Since the chrono bomb happened simultaneously, it wasn't like, oh, a bomb happened in the past, so when people died, their futures were, they had no future because they were dead, you know, they didn't have a future. Because a chrono bomb happened at several times on the timeline, all at the same time, if you existed in 1971, you were still alive in 1996, and you got hit that chrono bomb, you died twice, instantly, you know? Yeah, so people are very fascinated with that, you know, are very fascinated, of course, with that, with the sensationalism of that. However, there is, of course, a much greater significance to her death that only people in the know and only people who really dig will ever find out. And we will talk about that again. This character of Pilar will be, you know, significant and have great significance as we move on. So it's a small victory, but it's a really cool victory because it's going to help me shape this story even more, just by figuring out and coming up with the name of a character. So, all right, so that was a big, like, 10-minute, you know, thing. But that's the whole point behind this, is to kind of, you know, help you guys figure out ways and to get moving. So yeah, we got about, let's see, probably by the time this is over, because I have about 8 minutes left, by the time this is over, we will have written less than a page. So part of that is, yes, the format of this is we're kind of, you know, going, we're kind of flying by the seat of our pants here and streaming while we're writing. But the other part of it is, yes, even if I wasn't streaming, writing and talking and stopping and rambling, I would still have taken a few minutes to do this research about Pilar and then celebrate it, you know, and kind of mull it around in my head and think about it and talk about and really move forward. And yes, also take some notes on my Word document here that I have here also, so that I don't, you know, totally forget some of the things that I that I mentioned about Pilar. So I'll tell you one of the other things I did. I initially was going to make this a man. I was going to say, oh man, but I kind of made a deliberate choice to make it a woman, and that, I'll tell you straight up, it's a diversity thing. When I think of a main character, I automatically default to guy because, you know, I'm a man, and our main characters for a long time were traditionally men. So I kind of default to men. But, you know, for this case, I was like, I was this character, what their sex is, and for this situation is not 100%. Is not 100%. I'm blanking on the word. Writer, haven't blanking on the word. Alert. But basically the idea is that, like, this is a character whose characterization can spring from whoever I make them. Their significance is more so of who they their significance is more kind of like a metaphysical way than it is in a physically what they look like or who they are way. But now that I've given her, so like I said, like, her significance more so it doesn't matter, you know, it doesn't, at this point, doesn't matter where she lives. So her race and ethnicity isn't something that I have to be at least at first completely cognizant of, because, like I said, it's more so for kind of metaphysical symbolism. But once I name her Pilar, then I begin to fill out the rest of her her characterization. So she's a woman, and then Pilar with I think my research showed me that Pilar is a Spanish name. So she has she has some type of, so this is Spanish as in Spain. Um, but I have to do a little bit more research because now I'm just kind of speaking a little, like I see that it's Spanish, and that it comes from name origin, the legend of the miracle of the Virgin Mary's appearance over a marble pillar. So I'm going to look into that even more, because there is church significance in this story as well. Like I said, faith and fate. And all kinds of stuff. So yes, this is the joys of storytelling, getting hung up on one one name and all the significance that goes into it. Most people, when they're reading it, it's just gonna pass right by them. Oh, this is Pilar, and they'll see the significance of the name, or they'll go through the story, they'll read the whole story, and hopefully they like the story, they like the graphic novel. But they'll never know. Well, they'll know now because they can go back and watch the stream, but most people will never know how I perseverated over this name, and and got excited about the fact that I had found it. So a woman named Pilar. So the last name is still going to be a placeholder for now. Pilar. It's very much a placeholder. I don't know. I don't know if I'm gonna do that. That may not even. Yeah. So I don't know. So a woman named Pilar Santiago lived. Uh, um, let's see. Unfortunately, that is the case. If you read down to the fourth paragraph, you'll see a 100-year span in which 7 timeline fractures occurred. A woman named Pilar Santiago was swept up in lived during that time, lived during that time, lived during that time, lived during that time, and was swept up in the chronobomb. Let's say lived during that period, because we're going to say time again right here. I try not to use the same words like that too much over, like right back to back to next to each other. Sometimes in dialogue you can get away with it, because sometimes we do that in dialogue. We say the word over and over again, just like how I said sometimes 3 times in the last 60 seconds. But when your reader is reading it, or you want to have some differentiation in the words that you're using. So instead of saying a woman named Pilar Santiago lived during that time and was swept up in the chronobomb 4 times, I said she lived during that period and was swept up in the chronobomb 4 times. So now there's a little bit of differentiation there, and it rolls a little bit better. Although, again, like I said before, this is going to be a this is just the first part of it. So this is just the first draft. So there will be situations where I go back and repolish it up. But for now, I think that's going to work. So a woman named Pilar Santiago lived during that period and was swept up in the chronobomb 4 times. In the chronobomb 4 times. Mr. Timmerman is a little bit too excited about that. Let's see. Mr. Timmerman. Okay. All right. We just hit an hour. Four times. We just hit an hour, so we're gonna end it here. Um, there was a lot of like talking and rambling, not as much writing this time. But I tell you what, like I said, it kind of at the beginning of the stream, you know, it was a little bit of a tough day. So I don't know if I was all the way in the mindset to write. Um, Honestly, I'll tell you guys honestly right now, if I wasn't doing NaNoWriMo, I probably would have skipped this evening's writing session. I probably would have just laid in bed or, you know, watched some TV to kind of take my mind off of it or something like that. Um, but, you know, I committed to doing this. Like, I'm enjoying the story. I'm enjoying the process. This is day 3. After day 2, I actually got some feedback that was really cool, really encouraging. That a friend of mine has been watching the live stream. If you're out there, hi again. And now I know a couple other friends have also watching. But she told me that she's working on a project, on a writing project, and that watching me sit here and write and ramble was helping her. So I hope it's still helping her, and I hope that it's helping you if you're working on something, if you're writing or a story or a screenplay or a play or a novel or a piece of music, or if you're creating something, if you're going out there and trying to get a business up and going, or you are writing an academic paper or a personal statement, or if you're trying to make anything, I just hope that this is helping you. It's helping me push forward. I do have, you know, some other work to do. I'm gonna get to that now. But so this has been good. I will be back tomorrow. Not sure exactly what time. There's no definitive time that I know. Mostly it's like, okay, if you're going to be doing something like streaming like this every day, I know a lot of big time streamers in video games and other things that kind of release things, or they stream at the same time uh, every day that they stream, or same time of week or whatever. There's not going to be any rhyme or reason to this. My schedule with my family and my other projects, and my day job as a freelance writer and freelance consultant, I got to do those things. So and just scheduled meetings and all kinds of stuff. So I would love to say, oh yeah, I'm going to be here at the same time every day, but I'm not. So but I will be back sometime tomorrow. And depending on how much time at some point we are going to do a longer, you know, couple of hour stream. But tonight, yeah, I gotta cut this one short at an hour. Gotta do some other things. Um, it, you know, despite the fact that I think it got maybe a little less than a page done. I don't even know if it was maybe like 3/4 of a page done. It was still significant because we found Pilar Santiago, and oh, don't forget, we still have this that's gonna blow up. No pun intended. Um, but yeah, I know that's really cryptic. You guys are like, what are you even talking about? But yeah, you'll see. Keep watching so you can see how, you know, Mr. Timmerman, you know, Inez asks what caused a chrono bomb. Mr. Timmerman says, no one knows for sure. And I'll give you a little bit of a hint of what's coming up before we go. Mr. Timmerman looks at Cynthia. No, we're sure. We're gonna say he pauses. Then maybe Cynthia could tell us. The entire class looks at her, and it's like we can practically see steam coming from For years. Nope. Nope. Yeah, for now. We'll do that here for now. So what I'm going to do here, and I know I'm already over an hour, but now I know what I want to do. At this point, Cynthia is finally going to blow her lid. And since she is experienced with the chronobomb, she's going to give people the real, like not the real story, but she's frustrated about people celebrating the chronobomb. We're not celebrating it, we're talking about it kind of in this happy-go-lucky historical terms, like, woohoo, this thing happened and it was tragic but amazing. She sees nothing amazing at all about the chronobomb. And of course, as someone who has seen more parts of the timeline than anybody else in that classroom, she knows things that they don't, even though future historians have released textbooks on this stuff. Okay, anyway, all right. I gotta go. Hey, thanks a lot for joining me for this live write. Please subscribe to the Str8 Legendary YouTube page and the Str8 Legendary Facebook page. Also, check out my stuff at The Creative Extreme, www.thecreativeextreme.com, where you can actually see some stuff about Captain Infinity that already exists, as well as a bunch of other incredible stories that me and my partner and a bunch of other really cool creative people have been working on. Check out the Creative Extreme Facebook as well. You can also check out Team Bandwagon. Shout out to my boy Jamal. Check out Team Bandwagon. It's a sports website that it's a lot of fun, and a podcast. There's podcast episodes out there, so check out Team Bandwagon podcast episodes, and also look for a new episode of Str8 Legendary coming this week. And as I said, we'll be back tomorrow with another live write. Feel free to leave a comment on this video. Go to the Facebook page. If you're my friend on Facebook, you can ask a question there, or give suggestions or whatever. You know, we can have a conversation. So again, thanks a bunch for watching this live write session. All right, the legend grows, my friends. Huzzah!